Welcome to a special edition of the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. We're going to recap some of the best moments from the first half of our year, and we're going to start with head coach Ben McCollum.
Another season rolling up here.
Yeah, great to be here, John. I think it looks like Matt got demoted. Isn't allowed to give me interviews. He's not even paying attention. No, it's great to be here, John. It's good to hear your voice again.
Oh, it is good. I tell you what, coming off that trip to Duke, I understand you had a chance to sit down with Coach Krzyzewski for a little while Friday afternoon. What type of advice did you give him about coaching?
Yeah, I got him straight. You know, I sat with him for about a half hour, and they called me out a shoot around and said, Coach Krzyzewski would like to meet with you. And, you know, like, okay. So got to go back there, and you meet him, and it's interesting. He's obviously, when you see him on TV, he seems just completely unapproachable and obviously somewhat big time. And you meet him, and he really comes down to your level and talks to you like you belong in the conversation. And he was great about that. The thing he wanted to meet with me was the national anthem. Obviously, you know, there's a lot going around about the kneeling and whatnot. And so what they did was just wore equality shirts and had the Pledge of Allegiance on the back, and he wanted to make sure that was okay with me. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And so then we obviously moved on to other conversations, and I was able to ask him some questions. And you know, he's pretty high level thinker. I mean, he sits there and he thinks through everything that he says, and he spent a lot of time with me, which I really appreciate.
You know, talking with Matt and talking with Mel as well here tonight, just about the entire trip and just how well Northwest Missouri State was treated on that entire trip out to Duke.
Absolutely. It was first class. You know, we went to North Carolina, too, and toured that, and that was a first-class environment. Duke was, you know, we got to practice at Cameron Indoor twice, shoot around once, and then play the game. I mean, that's as cool of an experience as our kids are probably going to have, and outside of, you know, obviously winning the national title. But, yeah, it was fun. They treated us great. Really, hopefully we helped them get better. Hopefully we exposed a few things, and, you know, they improved because they played us.
And how did that game help Northwest get better as well?
Well, boy, you know, early on I thought we got the shots that we wanted. Even looking back on film, I was like, boy, maybe back on film we actually got considerably better shots than they got. The problem is you know, they're 6'11", and, you know, I looked at the tip, so we had a picture of the tip ball. Brett's pretty athletic. Oh, he goes up for the tip. His hand is at that guy's armpits, and those guys' arms are like, you know, shoot, they're 5 feet long. So he's about 4 feet above him. I mean, so I thought we got the shots that we wanted. I thought that they exposed some things in regards to our transition defense where if you don't go at 100% and absolutely sprint, they're going to beat you up the floor because they are that much more athletic. And so those kind of things. So now when we say transition defense in practice, it's sprint like you're playing Duke. And box out like you're playing Duke. Because if you don't do that against them, they're so much more athletic and so much more physically gifted that they'll expose it.
Well, you're a week away from opening up the regular season down in St. Joseph with Upper Iowa. Just talk about things you want to do between now and tip-off time Friday afternoon.
Well, we need to have good practices. We hadn't had great practices this year, and I think a lot of that is you have to manufacture some of that hunger that you had last year, where it was pretty easy last year to get them motivated. Now this year you have to work for it a little bit more, and that's okay. Today we had a great practice. But, you know, outside of that, just continue to gel, continue to flow offensively, and then defensively, you know, just it's a lot about the details defensively. You know, I think that's what we're missing, where we don't want to finish plays defensively, don't want to make that extra rotation, don't want to make that extra box out, don't want to get that extra loose ball. Just a lot of detail stuff that we need to improve on and continue to grow with.
Well, an hour away from the basketball bash over at Bearcat Arena. Let's just talk about that event. And it's always kind of a fun way for the fans to get a chance to see this year's men's and women's basketball teams, and kind of a good opportunity to unveil the teams for the fans.
Yeah, the big thing for us in the Bearcat bash is to win the dance competition. I mean, I think we've lost it for 2 straight years. Last year, I really felt like our guys danced better.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They kind of got jobbed by the crowd there.
You know, and then the crowd cheers, and I swear the girls bring their own crowd to cheer for them. And so I was pretty disappointed last year. We ran for a couple hours, the next day because we lost it. But, that's the most important part. I think this year, we've worked on it a little bit more, the dance. Our guys did. And I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not, because part of them being funny is that they have no idea what they're doing. I think this year they actually have an idea, so it might be horrible. But, but we'll see. And then the lip sync, that'll be good. And I think you're getting out there and doing a dance this year, I heard.
Well, that's what Matt's been saying. I don't think that's in the cards here tonight.
Well, pull rank and make Matt get out there.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
now, how bad would it be to have one of you guys turn an ankle during this dance contest?
That would be bad. Let's knock on wood, John. Let's put some bubble wrap around the little guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Season starting in another week, and hopefully we'll be back and have another fun season like last year.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it'll be. It's a challenge. I think just from a coaching perspective, from our seniors' perspective, just being able to lead and create that hunger. It's going to be one of our biggest challenges, and hopefully we're up for it. And again, obviously we schedule very difficult where we got Upper Iowa, Northern State. Truman State made the national tournament. Metro State is always good. Lincoln Memorial is number 3 in the country. So we schedule pretty difficult this year as usual, and should be a fun pre-conference.
That schedule, though, tends to pay off, don't you think, in the end, by playing that type of schedule?
I think so. I think it exposes you. I think you get better because of it. I don't know. I guess early on we played an easy schedule because I felt like we needed to build our confidence. And then once we started to get where we had returners and we started to be pretty good, I've always felt like let's play some people. Let's see what happens and compete against the best. And, that's what we've done.
All right, well, Ben, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thanks a lot, John.
That's the head coach of the Bearcat men's basketball team, Ben McCullum.
Coming up on the KXCV KNWT Bearcat Coaches Show recap special, we're going to join head football coach Rich Wright. That's coming up right here on the KXCV KNWT Bearcat Coaches Show here on Channel 8.
Sports Grill in downtown Maryville. The head coach of the Bearcat football team, Rich Wright, joins us. And, Rich, good to have you with us here on the show tonight.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here.
Coach, talk about Pittsburgh State and going there and obviously a tough loss, but what you take away from that football game moving forward?
I think you take a lot of things. It was just what was frustrating is I felt like, at the end of the day, when that final, the final ticks went off the clock and it became, apparent that we weren't going to win that thing, it kind of set in, you know what I mean? And it was hard because we felt like it's one thing when you lose a football game when you feel like you played your best game, when you did everything that you could and you came up short. And I think as a player, as a coach, you can live with that. And the tough thing about that one last Saturday was we obviously didn't feel like we played to our capability on either side of the football, and we're just disappointed. And so what you do to take away from that, and I said it on last week's radio show, probably my greatest growth as an individual in my life has occurred when I've done things wrong. And it forces you to look in the mirror. It forces you to look at yourself and how do we correct things and how do we do things better moving forward. And I think collectively as a program we did that this week.
When you look at that game offensively, it just seemed like at various points of the game, you're maybe one or two plays that if could have converted on at different points of that ball game, it would have made a huge difference as far as momentum in that game.
Yeah, it did. At times we look good, but that's kind of been a little bit indicative of who we've been on that side of the ball. I mean, we're moving the ball at times, but, before where we weren't converting, and getting it into points, this last week they turned into turnovers. And you've heard me repeatedly, on here that, you can win with defense, but you can't win with defense turning the football over. And you just sooner or later those possessions are going to bite you in the butt, and they did for us last week. And I just think it was a case of some of our guys trying to do too much at times, trying to, make a big play and instead of just staying within the system. And it's just, it's unfortunate, but you learn from it.
How do you take this to where you use it as motivation, refocus guys, and at the same time you kind of do what Northwest does best and kind of put last week behind you and focus on the next game.
It's the nice part about kind of how we approach everything, whether we win or whether we lose. It's really on a game by game basis. We don't get too high and we don't get too low, or try not to. I wanted this one to fester in us a little bit, though. I let that thing linger all through Sunday and even into Monday a little bit, and then we said, okay, it's time to flush it. It's time to move on. Let's get prepared for Hayes, and we had a fantastic week of practice.
Football team, Rich Wright. Let's go back to last Saturday a little bit, and just one of those games we ran out a little bit of time there at the end.
Yeah, we did. Tough defensive battle all day long. I think both teams, showed why they're where they are defensively. It's unfortunately gave up a couple big plays. Found a rhythm late in the second half, and JB kind of sparked a comeback, got us in the end zone for a touchdown. Defense got a couple stops and gave us a couple chances, and couldn't quite pull it out.
We talked with Clayton a minute ago about it too, but 6 or 7 minutes left to go in the ball game. You're down by 2 scores, and to get back in and have a chance to come back and win, it just kind of shows what this team's made up mentally, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to say we played a clean game or our best game, but we played extremely hard, and that's ultimately what I'm looking for. I think I said to you guys in the radio show after the Pitt State game, I wasn't happy because I was disappointed with how we played. This last week, I was not disappointed in our effort. Our effort was fantastic. We just ran out of time.
And when you talk about the defense in that game too, it was just something where both teams really played well defensively. And from a standpoint of someone who likes to watch defense out there's a lot to take in that game.
Yeah, we were, we felt really good going into the week and felt like we could neutralize what they like to do with their vertical running game, and we were able to do that. I think they finished the day with 71 yards rushing, and 52 of it was on one snap. So, for the most part, we held their rushing game intact. And, again, I think we were at 170 yards passing for the game, and one of them was 60 yards. So, again, if you're doing that, you're playing pretty good defensive football. You just, it's not the slant route that got caught that's the big deal. And you hear me preach it all the time, that the ball's got to get on the ground. If we get it tackled, now we play again. And that's, just you can't make those mistakes in close football games.
Yeah, just unfortunate there at the end of the ball game, the way things played out there at the end.
Yeah, it's a tough lesson to learn, but it's one of those that we talk all the time about playing with emotion but not reacting emotionally. And I don't, it's a tough deal. It's his brother, and it's, but you can't, at that moment there's nothing that you can do. And so you have to understand it and you have to keep your composure, and it's just part of it's just one of those life lessons that unfortunately we had to learn the hard way.
And there's obviously a lot of football teams that would like to be in your place going into this final regular season game of the year, where you've got a chance to really master your own destiny here and what takes place.
Yeah, again, it's and we talked to the team about this as well. You look at Hayes and you look at some of the regional teams, and obviously we have familiarity with a lot of them, and we feel like if we can start to trend and do the things that we want to do, that we can make some noise coming out of this region.
Packing wise, are you packed for this weekend's trip?
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to try and make sure I pack my bag this week and not have to do things with the Tri-State guys. The nice part is I'm staying overnight, so hopefully I'll identify that I don't have my stuff before kickoff this week. But, yeah, my wife, Tucker Peavy, who's our equipment guy, does an awesome job. And after the game, I got home. The first thing my wife said to me was, maybe you should, because we have a 12th man that we always pack for the players, because invariably they always forget something. She was like, maybe Tucker ought to pack a 12th man for you, and at least have some sweats and a baseball hat for you if you forget your stuff. And I guess I have to pay attention to my own words and make sure I take care of the details this week.
You might explain for those that maybe missed our post game on Thursday night the whole story about.
Sure, I love to tell stories. So, I had a bunch of brand new defensive linemen that were playing for the first time, and I was going to make sure I had those guys right. We were going to go down there in Washburn, and we were going to execute really well. So we had literally 5 walkthroughs on Friday, or on Friday, it would have been Wednesday, and then game day Thursday. We left here on Thursday rather than spending the night because it was a night game. And I got up that morning, and I had 2 walkthroughs with the defensive line, and I went to pregame, and I went back outside and had another walkthrough with the defensive line, and I went upstairs and grabbed my shoulder bag, and I jumped on the bus, and away we went. And we went to the Legends, and we had lunch, and I had another walkthrough with the defensive line, and then we got to the stadium, and I stood up, and I always carry my bag. I don't put my bag underneath. I put it up top with me, and I stood up, and I was like, holy cow. All I got here is a shoulder bag, and I'm in shorts and flip-flops like I am right now. I'm pretty superstitious, and this is what I wear. Yeah, I had no clothes. And I knew exactly where they were. They were locked in my truck, and all the keys were with me. There were no keys anywhere. So I called the guys at Tri-State, and it was Steven and Kenny jumped in a truck and came down, and were able to get my truck unlocked and set alarms off all over the place and had the track team on high alert. And Amy Floor picked up my bags and actually delivered them to the game. And up until that point, I had borrowed a pair of sweatpants from a graduate assistant, a pair of shoes from Jack Richards, and borrowed Nick Hess's red hat. And by the third play of the game, I turned around and Tucker had my bag sitting in front of me. So I grabbed my red hat and grabbed a lanyard. And, I think I put on my black shoes and grabbed a Buckeye, and then I was good to go.
Coming up, head volleyball coach Amy Worth joins the program. That's right here on the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show, right here on Channel 8.
Welcome back to the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. We're broadcasting live from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville. And time to continue talking volleyball here as Amy Worth joins us, the head coach of the Northwest volleyball team. And Amy, coming off a good weekend, a little trip down south to Bolivar and Joplin, and a couple good wins for you.
Yeah, it was good to see our players, do well in a 5th set, I think, from the standpoint of Missouri Southern. They played a really good match. Offensively, if you look at some of the numbers, they were hitting at a very high clip and matching us with what we were doing. And I didn't feel like we had a good 4th set. And so usually what has happened when we've been in our 5th area is if we struggle in the 4th, you wonder what is going to happen in the 5th with the momentum. And I felt like our girls did a great job of turning around in the 5th and putting a performance together that I felt like was an aggressive performance, and they wanted it. And it was great for them to be able to pull that out. I think especially, like I said in the huddle, this is where we're meant to be, to get one of these underneath our belt as we go into the postseason. I think that will help our confidence.
What are some of the things that are important as far as turning around a match like that when you like you say, you struggled in the 4th set, then to come back and get that aggressiveness going again in the 5th?
Yeah, I think it's just about how our hitters are running their routes, what they're seeing. More than anything, what you always want to see in any athletics when it's a team sport is just how well you're working together. I thought in the 4th our serve receive broke down a little bit, so we talked about some of the things they were challenging us with, and more than anything it's about getting out to a lead in the 5th and really just making sure that you're showing them from point 1 that they're not going to get to 15 first. So I felt like our girls played with a lot of confidence, and I think that showed.
And prior to that, the night before, it was Southwest Baptist in Bolivar. He went in 3 sets there, took care of business against a team that is important to take care of business with.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I say this, is that you don't tell them from a coaching perspective that you need to win it, because then inevitably they get tight. But in your brain, it's like, this is a team you need to take care of. But from our standpoint, we really like to focus on the process. But walking in there, those are the types of matches that, like I said, from a coach's perspective, that sometimes you don't know what they're going to bring. Teams that have lost and aren't winning, you have to break them with their spirit and be consistent. So that's what we like to focus on. But it was good to see them be able to take care of business and, from point 1, they made their presence known that they, SBU wasn't gonna be, in the matches at all or in the sets, and I think they did a great job with that.
Yeah, I think in matches like that, it's important that first set takes on a little bit more importance, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just the first five points of every single set. The same thing can be said about the 3rd set. We're going to take care of the 3rd set and be done. We're not going to mess around with them and show them that they can even get back in it. So I thought it was good from our girls' perspective. they knew they needed to do it, and they got the job done.
Well, you have a little momentum coming into this final regular season weekend here. A couple good matches at Bearcat Arena. The first one coming up, Nebraska Kearney, nationally ranked team there. Just kind of talk a little bit about the UNK match.
We went down to UNK and went 4 with them. Took a set away from them. From the standpoint of us being able to match up well with them, I think it is a good matchup. They have a pretty high offense. We can get hands on a lot of their balls to be able to slow them down offensively. They don't necessarily do anything super tricky. They're just a very solid team. For us, I wanted to have a better offensive performance when we were down there. They only hit 170, which is way below their season average. And so for us, if we just take care of our offensive side, which I think you watched, us as we've been going through the last piece of the season, we're continuing to trend towards less and less errors. And I'm excited to see a match put together from the standpoint of the errors and keeping them low against another team that does it. That's the pressure they put on you. And I think that we've continued to grow throughout the season. Like I said, I'm just excited to see as we grow here at this last piece what it's going to look like tomorrow.
Do you feel like you're peaking at the right time and going into this final regular season weekend?
Yeah. We've talked a lot about that as a staff. We talked about giving players rest. I had a goal going to the season that I wanted to give them more rest. And we actually took some days off this week because I thought it was important. We've gone through a little bit of a stretch. In 14 days, we had 6 matches. So I wanted to have them rest going into the last week because we turn around next week and play Tuesday. So it was a big time for us, and I think the peaking has to do more with the mental piece, and your body starts breaking down, and if there's any way that we can give them rest and not go as long in practice and have the right feel walking in, I think that's a big piece of it. So I'm hopeful that we're peaking at the right time because we have found a lineup that I feel like is pretty consistent. We have options out of that lineup, but it's taken us a while to get there. So we need this part of the season to play our best. I want to keep playing, obviously, to go as far as we can go, but I feel like the best, like I've said a lot, is the best is yet to come with this group.
And then after that, you're back home on Saturday. A team that struggled a little bit, kind of like Southwest Baptist, got Fort Hays State coming in, and going from a team that's at the top of the conference down to a squad like Fort Hays State. How do you maintain that focus going from such an impactful game as you'll have tomorrow night to or match that you have tomorrow night compared to what's coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, I just think it goes to following a game plan. We spend a lot of time every week preparing and creating a game plan, and then keeping our focus on what needs to happen with that game plan. I think the other piece that was really positive when we played Fort Hays is we really followed that game plan well. We went at a certain player in a certain area of the court, and it worked. And so not that it's going to be replicated perfectly, but we'll find another way to continue to do our game plan at that level. And I think that confidence walking in will be helpful, and being at home will be helpful. But the other piece of it is senior night, and I think that's always, a very meaningful night for all of us to get up to get the win for our seniors and to be able to, finish the home stance with a good win.
Thank you for joining us on a very special edition of the KXCV KNWT Bearcat Coaches Show right here on Channel 8. To hear the full interviews with our guests or for more exclusive interviews with coaches and players, you can go to KNWT's YouTube page by searching KNWT Channel 8. Stay tuned because Gen 2 is coming up next right here on Channel 8.